From the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest, you're watching Beyond the Blast Doors live.
It is Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Central Time, and that means it is time for us to be doing Beyond the Blast Doors live, episode 72. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday. David Amalotti, your host, with you solo again, riding solo as I had the last few weeks because David Gilbert is out traveling the world. He is exploring the magic that I think he's in Mexico. Or is he in Norway? Sweden? This guy goes on so many vacations. I honestly don't know how he does it. He works for the Boy Scouts. I guess they pay well. And we have our good buddy, Jesse Buck, still recovering from his illness and injury. So we're giving him some time to recuperate. Told him, don't worry. Don't rush back. And honestly, having a great Sunday. Just spent the weekend out of town. Got to go MC a Chopped event for an area nonprofit. It was a really cool concept. 4 teams competing. I got to taste a lot of interesting food. It was 3 rounds, right? So you had like appetizer, main course, and dessert. And the dessert included ham salad. And all 4 teams crushed it. I didn't taste the ham salad. It was like ham salad and wontons. It was bizarre. Crazy combination. It was a lot of fun. And then I showed up on the front porch. We get home, and there's this box of meat. It's like, I don't even remember what it's called, Butcher Box or something. I don't know. It was like $120 worth of frozen meat on my porch. So, like, that was a really great surprise. Did not know that was happening until we were pulling up. So, I'm just going to take this Sunday for what it's worth. Episode 72. So glad you're joining us here for Beyond the Blast Doors. I'm well aware that this is not my personal diary. We are here to talk Star Wars, and I'm so glad to be with you. I do want to remind you that if you're not able to catch our live show, and got to start with a big thank you to you joining us in the live show. We'll jump in the live chat in just a couple of moments. But in case you didn't know, you can always listen to Beyond the Blast Doors Sundays at 11 a.m. Central. That's a live show, but we can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We also have some exclusive content on our Patreon page, so be sure you check that out. I want to go ahead and dive into the live chat real quick and see who we have hanging out with us. We have Rural Farm Boy. We have Shannon Moran with us. We have Neil Lowry, Mr. Positivity. This guy really is, Neil is the best guy in the community because he invests so much time and energy in making sure people know that they're appreciated and that they're welcomed in the Star Wars fandom. So pretty cool to have him with us. We have Mr. Rez joining us as well. I'm sure we'll have Pete Fletcher joining us in a little bit. Rural Farm Boy asks us in the live chat, how is Jesse doing? Like I said, still recovering, taking it slow. We're hoping that he can join us next week. I've got to think when The Mandalorian drops on November 12th, this guy will be sitting straight up out of the bed. He's going to be able to walk again. This man is going to be healed because of the power of The Mandalorian. And in a way that kind of leads me to something I want to talk about here off the top, and that is, in case you hadn't heard, streaming Star Wars with Ammo and Fletcher. This is premiering November 8th, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Pete Fletcher and myself are teaming up to bring you the second show here on the Beyond the Blast Doors YouTube channel. We need your help spreading the word about this show. It's really important because this is kind of a love child between Pete and I. We are super excited about bringing you this show. And it's funny because in the last, I don't know, couple of days, maybe like the last 12 hours, it seems like everyone else has made their graphics and they're getting their version of the Mandalorian show going. But we're really excited about what we're going to be able to bring you when it comes to not just Disney Plus, or I should say not just The Mandalorian, but also what we're going to be able to bring to you for all Disney Plus. So this is not just going to be The Mandalorian. This is not just going to be Kenobi. This is going to be everything. So we're also going to talk about the Clone Wars. We're going to be talking about the Cassian Andor series. Of course, the Kenobi project. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But this is an opportunity for us to have a live conversation every Friday after The Mandalorian drops. That's how we're going to do this first wave of episodes. But we're going to be going live every Friday. After these episodes drop, we're going to have live guests. We're going to have analysis, reaction, discussion, and it's going to be kind of similar to Beyond the Blast Doors in the sense that you're part of the conversation as well. We want you to be in the live chat with us the entire time, talking about what you like about The Mandalorian, what you don't like about The Mandalorian. But we're also here to tell you about all things Disney Plus. So again, streaming Star Wars, Ammo and Fletcher, world premiere November 8th of this year, of course, duh, because we're going to get We're going to get Disney Plus and that first episode of The Mandalorian starting November 12th. So we'll have our first show November 8th preview. A special guest announcement is on the way. So really hope that you join us. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great new adventure. And again, we're talking about The Mandalorian, Kenobi, Cassian Andor, Clone Wars. We're talking about all of the streaming Star Wars projects. It should be a lot of fun. And again, I've already told you, but I'll remind you again, if you're not able to catch the live show, which right now around 10 people are, we're going to have the audio version always available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. And of course, we're going to have some exclusive content on our Patreon page, really working hard to bring the Patreon page to life, and also working really hard to bring BeyondTheBlastDoors.com to life. So we start the conversation on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com, and then we bring it to the table here for our live show. Let's get underway on this episode 72 of Beyond the Blast Doors. It is November 3rd, and we are talking about Kenobi as a confirmed project for Disney Plus. And this is something that many have speculated on for years. And Ewan McGregor finally now has the opportunity to talk about the Kenobi project because it was officially confirmed, you might remember, over the summer at D23. And he was just on Jimmy Kimmel. And he's talked with Jimmy Kimmel on late night TV, and which makes sense, right? Because ABC, owned by Disney, right? But he's also spoken to a few magazines about the experience of knowing that Kenobi was a work in progress, knowing that the fans had a large outcry for this series. And he describes it as a blank relief to be able to finally discuss the Kenobi project with fans because there was so much secrecy around this series. And this is something that he talked about in great length on Kimmel and also, I believe, to Men's Health about the secrecy surrounding Star Wars. And he goes on to explain how it makes sense for a large franchise. They want these films to be secret. They want to surprise fans. They don't want anything to leak early in case something doesn't work out. And so he respected, but he made a couple of observations that I thought were really interesting that I'd like to dive in with you now. And of course, if you're watching with me on the live show for episode 72, let me know what you're thinking about the Kenobi project in the live chat as we go through Kenobi's he is Kenobi, but as we go through McGregor's quotes, make sure you're telling me what you think about his words, whether they excite you or not. But if you want to follow along, I got the story pulled up on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com that I did in reaction. I just tried to find the sound that I thought was interesting from Kimmel and then the other articles that Ewan McGregor spoke at. I just pulled that all into one article, not really reporting it as news, but it's more of like a blog type of thing. So follow me on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com with that. But I think it's really interesting because he was doing this press tour, and it was this past Tuesday. He was talking with Associated Press, and he says, the first thing he says is, well, and now that the cat's out of the bag, that what we're really doing, I'm really excited about it. It's a really phenomenal storyline that we're going to tell. He has revealed that this is going to be 6 episodes, each an hour length for Kenobi, that they're saying could be available on Disney Plus as early as next year. I'm not sure how far along they are in production. It seems like the work has been underway. They've been having conversations about Kenobi for 4 years. I mean, ever since Disney Plus was an idea, they were talking about this. It actually goes before Disney Plus because we came to learn that Kenobi was actually originally going to be a movie. There was some turmoil within Lucasfilm as far as the direction to go with films after Solo and the poor box office performance of Solo. And the movie was then reinvented to become 6 individual hour-long episodes for Disney Plus. I honestly, though, if I'm making a bet, I think it's more likely that we'll get the series in 2021. But fingers crossed for 2020 release. That would be fantastic. Of course, we know we're getting Clone Wars in early 2020. We know that we're getting Cassian Andor in 2020. Kenobi could come out. Oh my gosh, can you imagine if Kenobi came out, let's say October, November of next year? We don't have a movie coming out for Star Wars next year, so that would be kind of a nice treat to get as fans. As you enter that holiday season, you're not able to make the venture to the movie theater, which is, for I think a lot of fans, become tradition ever since Force Awakens, and then Rogue One, and then Last Jedi. We've gotten this routine of Christmas we get a new Star Wars movie. So having a Kenobi, basically a 6-hour-long Kenobi movie, that's one hell of a treat. And of course, he spoke these words to Men's Journal That was also earlier in the week. And then let's go ahead and talk about what happened on Kimmel when he made his late night appearance there, because he really gets into not just the secrecy of working on a Star Wars project, working with Disney and Lucasfilm, but the struggles that he was having. Because keep in mind, ever since Disney bought Star Wars and ever since we got our first standalone movie, all of us YouTubers, anyone that was involved with Star Wars was asking, okay, if you could have a standalone movie, what are your top 5 choices, your top 10 choices for the next standalone movie? Everyone was saying Kenobi. Ewan McGregor's in that prime age. He could play that deserted old Jedi, that old wizard wandering the dunes of Tatooine in between episodes 3 and 4. It just seemed like the perfect timing. And we come to find out that's what Disney, that's what Lucasfilm, that's what Ewan McGregor was thinking as well. Here's what he said on Kimmel. Once they started making spin-off movies, there was such a lot of speculation about an Obi-Wan spin-off, and I was asked every time I did an interview by people, would I do it? And it just became embarrassing because it sounded like a bit I was trying to get the part from Disney. Like I was saying, well, if they give me a call, I'd be interested. He said fans would like being angry with Disney saying they better not cast someone else. And I was thinking, who else are they going to cast? Just let me say it. So I think that's really fascinating because I can think of a couple years ago, there was an interview with Collider, and this is the verbatim. I mean, it started there, and I felt like every interview since, it was the same words in the same order at the same pitch coming out of Ewan McGregor's mouth. If they gave me a call, I'd love to do it. And it always kind of felt like he was giving a wink to us fans. You knew he wanted to do it. He said as much. He wanted to be part of the Star Wars family again, reprise his role. You're not going to get anyone else to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. You have Ewan McGregor. You make it happen. And it's funny to even hear him say as much. You're not going to get someone else to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's only going to be me. So because of the temperament of the fandom, and this is something that unfortunately is part of the conversation a lot of times when we're talking about Star Wars, is that the fans get so outraged, and you hear about, BS groups like the Fandom Menace, and you hear about, this toxic fandom. It's really disappointing. Ewan saying, hey, I don't want you guys to be upset. You guys are getting exactly what you want. I want to tell you all about it. And it kind of feels like in the last 5 days, Ewan has pretty much spewed all the information that he can because he wants fans to know that, first and foremost, this is happening. The fans kind of were a factor because the fans were calling for it, and that Disney also was very well aware of what the fans wanted, and this was a project in the works since the very beginning. So again, Disney announced this, by the way, back in August at the D23 Expo, and again, believed to be on the streaming service in 2020, but I am going to stick with my gut feeling and think that we might see some promotion, but I assume this thing is actually going to happen in 2021. And then just to give you a little background, and I do want to go into the live chat real quick and see what everyone is saying about this. Let me know if you're watching here in the live show. Let me know, based on what you're hearing from Ewan McGregor, how excited are you to know that we're getting 6-hour-long episodes? You're getting a 6-hour-long movie, essentially. This is going to be pretty exciting. Deborah Chow is the director for this series. She directed a couple of episodes for season 1 of The Mandalorian, and she will be directing all 6 of these episodes here for Disney Plus for the Kenobi series. I want to know what you think in the live chat. What do you think about getting 6-hour-long episodes? Also, if you're listening on the rewind, make sure you comment down under this episode. You can also reach out to us and tweet us at BTBD Star Wars when you are listening to this on podcast form. And also a little bit of background. So I mentioned this a little earlier, and I'm going to center myself. I feel like I'm getting I'm like off center. That's kind of strange. Now I feel good. Now I feel like I'm back in my right place. Some little background on this, because we've been talking about the Kenobi movie since 2015. This has been a conversation with a lot of fans, and I want to make sure that I give you the kind of like the right timeline. So let's go to 2017. Because that's when we got the report that Stephen Daldry was going to direct this project. And of course, that has since changed. And again, it was the box office performance of Solo Star Wars story that kind of changed how Lucasfilm, Disney wanted to move forward with film, I think in general, with theater. And we also talked about this quite a bit in our original piece on Beyond the Blast Doors about the Benioff and Weiss fiasco. So that's going to be the next topic here on Beyond the Blast Doors, episode 72, as we transition into the next topic. But this is somewhat connected. And Benioff and Weiss have been a fascinating element of the Star Wars fandom for, the last year and a half, because these are the two titans of television storytelling right now, or streaming storytelling right now, because these two are the titans with Game of Thrones, and now they're going to tell Star Wars, and everybody got excited about what was going to happen here with these two guys, and we've learned a lot of information in the last 4 days, but I do want to go back real quick, talking about Kenobi, looking in the live chat. It looks like Mr. Rez says he's very excited for 6 hours of Kenobi. And Rural Farm Boy says, I wasn't sure what to think of a Kenobi story at first, but now they have my attention. Shannon Moran is with us here in the live chat, and she says that production, filming, does start early next year. So maybe we do get something at the end, or maybe it is something where we don't get a first episode until early 2021. But you know what? If they start shooting in early of next year, there's a chance that drops in the winter, and that would be a sweet holiday treat. Neil says, I'm glad it's a series, more time to explore with Kenobi. And I think that's a really great point, Neil, because would you rather have a 2-hour movie where they got to cut some things out and they got to rush other certain things because they're on a timeline? They have 2.5 hours. Or do you get 6 individual episodes, an hour each in length, and you get this opportunity to really dig in deep with this character that, one, the fans want so much, and two, we really don't know what happened in the desert between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. With his new canon timeline, we know that he was, studying the Force, and based on, from a certain point of view, the collection of, the dozens of stories from all the different authors, we know that Obi-Wan was communicating with Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon was mentoring him in his study of the Force so that he could tap into the afterlife. I think is, obviously one of the most notable skills, right, that he acquired in that time. But we don't know if Kenobi was on Tatooine the entire time. He might have left. Did he interact with the scoundrels in Mos Eisley? You've never, been to a hive of more of scum and villainy. Does he have any experience with that hive, So really interesting to explore. Love everyone commenting in the live chat. Again, if you want to let me know what you think, let me know in the comments below if you're catching this on the rewind, or you can tweet at me at BTBD Star Wars. Rural Farm Boy also says Lucasfilm started work on Mando last September. We're getting it in 9 days. That is a really good point. It took just over a month. Or not over a month, I'm sorry, just over a year. So maybe that's a good timeline for reference. Let's go on to the next topic here on Beyond the Blast Doors live show, episode 72, November 3rd. We are cruising along here. Thank you so much for joining me in this moment to talk Star Wars. I absolutely love it. This is incredible. It's an incredible mess. Benioff and Weiss. This, like I just said moments ago, this was huge for the Star Wars fans because these are the titans of storytelling right now. There's no one doing it better than Benioff and Weiss, but their last season was definitely met with some criticism, and we're talking about Game of Thrones on HBO. A lot of fans of Game of Thrones did not see Benioff and Weiss stick the landing. They felt it was rushed. They had issues with the dialogue. It was once Benioff and Weiss got off the source material, there were some concerns, and there was that concern taking place before that final season even dropped. There was some concern of whether or not this was the right move. Should they wait for more the next book to come out to finish off Game of Thrones the right way? And that clearly did not happen. So the point here is we are now learning more information about Benioff and Weiss, the project that they were on, and we're learning that Benioff and Weiss were going to do a movie focused on the origins of the Jedi. Let that sink in for just a moment. A movie on the origins of the Jedi. So something that I was talking about for a while was that I really wanted to see us go to the Old Republic and just be in an era that's rich of Force users, specifically the Jedi and the Sith, and getting to more explore the lore of these two sides and how they came to be. And it turns out that Benioff and Weiss wanted to go even further back on the timeline, which I think is great because there's so much that you can explore there and make new. and I think it's a really easy buy-in for the general fan base and also the diehards. I would avoid personally going beyond Episode 9 for a long time. I think the future of Star Wars gets really muddy for a lot of fans, and I think there's a lot of more guaranteed home runs before The Phantom Menace. But that's just me. I could be wrong. Let me know what you think about that in the live chat if you're joining me live, or Twitter, or in the comment section, however you want to do it. But let's go ahead, and I'm just going to pull this story up. This is what I did on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. And it was less than 48 hours after the initial story broke. And remember, we didn't get to talk about this together when this originally happened. We got the Mandalorian trailer drop on that Monday, on Monday Night Football, right? And we got the Mandalorian trailer, and within an hour, we get news that Benioff and Weiss have exited their Star Wars project. And rumors galore start loading up on Twitter. Everyone has their assumptions. Everyone's mad. We knew very little information. The quote that we got from Benioff and Weiss basically said they ran out of time because of their new Netflix deal. And, they go on and talk about how they met with George Lucas, and everyone over at Lucasfilm was so nice. And we got a quote I'll read in a little bit from Kathleen Kennedy, how, she wishes them the best. But it just all seemed at the time something wasn't right. There's no way that you can have Benioff and Weiss come in, sign a contract to do a series of movies with Star Wars and those characters in that galaxy, and then all of a sudden just leave. Like, that's not how contracts work. I have contract for my job. I can't just leave. I have to buy myself out. I have to pay damages to the company that I work for if I were to leave early, and it's all based on percentages and the point in time in the contract. Like, contracts are not easy. They are binding documents that are, they secure you in the sense that you know that you're going to have work, but it's also for the person giving you that work knowing they're going to get a return on their investment, and if not, they're going to get you. And so it all felt very much like a group of publicists sat down. How do we make this as clean as possible? It was a bad move to have this drop on the same night as the Mandalorian trailer. I think it was overshadowing what we got with The Mandalorian, and The Mandalorian trailer was absolutely fantastic. If you have not already, Pete Fletcher and I got together for a little preview of what we'll be doing for streaming Star Wars. We have our Mandalorian review and reaction of the trailer video. It's on right now, Beyond the Blast Doors YouTube channel. Go ahead and check that out. It was an incredible trailer, but it was overshadowed by this news of Benioff and Weiss. And so there were some concerns leading up. We hadn't heard anything about the Benioff and Weiss project. We didn't get anything at Star Wars Celebration. We didn't really get anything at D23, and there was some concern. Remember, it began as a series of movies, and then it became a trilogy. Then there was speculation that they would maybe write the 3 and just direct the 1. It just kept changing, and their commitment level became less and less and less. And there were rumors that Benioff and Weiss were shopping around for different opportunities over the summer. The Netflix deal gets announced, a $250 million Netflix deal. You can't be signed with Disney, Lucasfilm, that is trying to generate content for streaming, for the new streaming service in Disney+. And then you go sign a contract over with Netflix for $250 million, the direct competition. And then we find out that Netflix was, at first they said it was, or I should say a collective noun, Netflix. The company said that it was comfortable with Benioff and Weiss working for both. Benioff and Weiss weren't really expected to create content in the first couple of years of the contract because of their prior obligations with Lucasfilm. But you're not going to give someone $250 million and then be like, well, for the first 4 years, you're not going to show me anything. That's just not going to work, no matter how ambitious you are as a director, as a creative, okay, a creative or creator of content. That's not going to work. And apparently that really upset Kathleen Kennedy. And so going through this article, it's very interesting because we're learning that this really was going to take place exploring the origins of the Jedi, or how the Jedi came to exist. And I'm going to just kind of go through what I wrote here, and we'll just kind of break this down together. I started my article with just saying how, what we kind of already explained, how with our experience on Game of Thrones, there was a lot of reasons to believe that it was going to be the old Republic era that would be explored with this series. And it's the idea that fans could have witnessed the creation of the Jedi's Order. It's a very satisfying opportunity. But was the idea where the directors and Lucasfilm disagreed, or was it the approach? What was the ultimate reason why Benioff and Weiss moved off of this? Was it just because they couldn't handle both projects and they opted for Netflix? Or is this because they were trying to tell this story a certain way that maybe Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm were not into? If we were to see the creation of the Jedi, does that also include the Sith origins, or the Sith as the opposing threat? Would have been a lot of lightsabers on screen, and as I go here, that could have been maybe a concern from Lucasfilm. You don't want to cause epileptic seizures in the theater because there's 5,000 lightsaber blades on the screen. I would have said go for it. Now the $250 million deal again signed with Netflix. It was just a case, I think, of Netflix pressuring the directors. They didn't want to wait for 4 years to get a return on that investment. And also this weird dynamic between the streaming services. You don't want the same two dudes making content for Netflix and Disney Plus. You want that to be exclusive content. And Lucasfilm was the first. Lucasfilm grabbed them from HBO. We knew that Game of Thrones was wrapping up with that final 7th season, and Lucasfilm was at the ready to bring them on. And this was going to be the main marquee event for Star Wars theatrical releases starting in 2022. And they were going to give us 2024 and a release in 2026. And then you thought the Rian Johnson trilogy would get sprinkled in. Who knows what could follow. And now it seems like, we haven't really heard anything about Rian Johnson's trilogy ever since it was first announced before the Last Jedi release that he was getting his trilogy. Is that still a reality? Or is Rian Johnson going to be announced that he's exiting Star Wars early as well? There are stories out there that he's considering taking on another movie before he does his first Star Wars. Just speculation, not grounded in fact. Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter the Benioff and Weiss exit has been brewing since August. Lucasfilm chief Kathleen Kennedy is said to have been very unhappy with the Netflix deal, inked just as they were scheduled to begin on Star Wars. So it looks like production was supposed to kick in, and they got cold feet. Benioff and Weiss had said multiple times that they would not turn their focus to Star Wars until production wrapped on the final season of Game of Thrones, which ended in July of last year. Kennedy was not convinced the pair, known for focusing on one project at a time, could develop a sci-fi trilogy while overseeing film and TV projects for Netflix. Sources say, as a duo shopped for an overall deal during the summer, they told potential suitors that they had planned to work on Star Wars concurrently with any projects under their new deal. This article also from The Hollywood Reporter references Benioff and Weiss were turned off by toxic fandom, and I think this is something to talk about, and the live chat right now is just blowing up, so I want to get in here and talk with them real quick. Benioff and Weiss, Rural Farm Boy says they'd done it themselves. He did not follow Game of Thrones, he said. He says he actually read the story on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com, and he says it's good stuff. I really appreciate you saying that. We're really making a new investment on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com to pull in the news of the day, but just give you our reaction for it. So, you can go to other great places like StarWarsNewsNet.com. They're going to have, breaking news all the time. They're going to be pulling Star Wars news from all over the galaxy, for lack of better phrasing. But what we want to do is we want to find the things that we really think interest our audience and then give you our take. So I really appreciate you saying that, Rural Farm Boy, and saying that. Mr. Rez says it's the only thing that makes sense. And that looks like where that live chat conversation has run out. So again, you're watching the live show. Make sure you're letting me know how you feel about the news in the moment, the topic of discussion in the moment. And you let me know down in the live chat. And of course, if you're listening or watching on the rewind, comments below, tweet me. All right, so getting back to this article, toxic fandom is included in this article of The Hollywood Reporter as a reason why Benioff and Weiss left Star Wars. And I have a problem with that. And my problem with that is that no one's saying that. We haven't heard Benioff and Weiss say, these two individuals, Benioff and Weiss, they have not come out and said at one point that it was a toxic fandom, and I just feel like it was irresponsible of the journalist who wrote this article to say, yeah, toxic fandom is to blame. I think that's more of an assumption. When you talk to people in the street about Star Wars, like I have a friend, Adam. He's not a diehard Star Wars fan, but he's enjoyed every Star Wars movie of this Disney era. He loved Solo, really liked Rogue One. He says Last Jedi might be his favorite. He thought Force Awakens was a real treat. And he doesn't understand why everyone's freaking out. This whole toxic fandom thing is, I don't know if you want to call it, say amplified or exacerbated, but it's because of social media. It's because there are people that bash and bash and bash. They've developed following. That's their brand. They bully Lucasfilm and the creatives in a way that other people feed off of and for some reason take the pleasure in. I think it's irresponsible to say toxic fandom in that article because you're not targeting just, these people who call themselves the fandom menace or, these other trolls on social media. In this phrasing that this journalist did, he kind of grouped all of the Star Wars fans, a toxic fandom. Not like he didn't list a certain sect. There was no more description. It was a toxic fandom. And so I think that was a little irresponsible. That comes off to me as an assumption. It's not how I would have written it. If you're going to mention toxic fandom, reference something specifically. If not, you're kind of, crapping on an entire fandom that supports its franchise, loves this franchise. And like any kind of group, there's the great people in the group, and then there's the members of the group that sometimes give you a bad look. Everyone has a black sheep, and I think that's the situation. But am I overreacting? Let me know in the comments below, or tell me in the live chat right now, am I oversensitive to this, or do you kind of agree? This is kind of grouped the entire fandom when that's not necessary. A lot of the fans here celebrate Star Wars. That's what we do here on Beyond the Blast Doors. We have a Star Wars conversation where we talk about the movies, the TV, the games, the toys, the cosplay. We talk about it all, and we want to celebrate. And while there are elements of Star Wars that we don't like as much as others, we don't insult each other for where we stand. Whatever brings you to this table, why you like Star Wars, that's why you're here, and we celebrate that. So I definitely am curious to see what people say in the live chat. We're now joined by Mando Fury himself, Jesse Buck, in the live chat. Jesse, you showed up, I think, at the right time. This is something that I want to get you to sound off on about this, talking about this toxic fandom that's to blame for Benioff and Weiss leaving. Obviously, I don't think that's the real case, but we can dive into that. The live chat is alive and well. Rural Farm Boy says that reporter showed bad form. I agree. Mando says, I guess they're making Italian jokes in the live chat. I'm doing this show solo, and you guys are attacking my ethnicity. Unbelievable. I mean, I expect this from Gilbert, but I don't expect this from Jesse. This is ridiculous. I can't even believe this is happening. Everyone's just talking about garlic in the live chat. Where did this garlic even come into? Get a bit more garlic in your food, sick goes away. Oh, okay, so Rural Farm Boy is saying that illness can be cured by garlic. Well, I guess that's why I've never met a sick Italian. Okay, there we go. Well, while everyone talks about their favorite cooking ingredients, I do want to remind you that you can let me know in the live chat, the comments below on the rewind, or tweet at us with your thoughts on whether or not you think toxic fandom is a factor for Benioff and Weiss leaving. I think that is. I think to mention it is fine if you clarify, but just to drop it in there, that's an opinion of the writer, and as a journalist, you don't drop an opinion. But maybe that's appropriate for that format. That's my take. Okay, so now what I want to do is just talk about like moving forward. We have very unspecifics. There's now an opening for a Star Wars movie in 2022, 24, and 26. There are some options for that. If Rian Johnson's trilogy is still on, you would think that the obvious move would be to move him up and have his first movie drop in 2022. Seems like there is maybe just enough time to make that happen. It would be a little more at this point than 2 years, and that seems like all the time that JJ needed for Episode 9. That's why they had to push the movie back, because originally Episode 9 was supposed to be in May, and he pushed it back in December because he wanted more time to flesh out this final Skywalker saga film. So very interesting to see. We're not going to find out what really happened. I just want to close it with that. I don't think we're actually ever going to find out what really happened. We will not find out about what happened with like Lord and Miller on Solo, why they were removed. It sounds like they were doing some things that did not fit the Star Wars vibes. And there's rumors out there. I'm not on set. I'm not connected to anyone on set in this present time. Always looking for a source, but as of right now, I'm not. And so I don't want to speculate on what caused them to get the boot here. But I think it's the same situation for Benioff and Weiss. We just won't know. But it again, and I think we have to mention this, and this is not an attack, but these are just facts. This is the continued director fallout that we're experiencing in the Kathleen Kennedy era. There's no denying that she is one of the most talented and successful producers in the history of film. You cannot tell the story of Hollywood without Kathleen Kennedy, but this just further shows, I think, another opportunity to showcase there needs to be someone in charge of creative. She handles the production, the producing responsibilities, but as far as storytelling and not micromanaging the directors, maybe there needs to be a structure change. And on this show, we've said for a very long time, Dave Filoni was kind of groomed as the heir apparent for storytelling with Star Wars as he studied under George Lucas for the Clone Wars. And it would be probably a great time to see him do that. But now you see him working with Favreau on The Mandalorian. They've got season 2 in production already. It would be interesting to see if Filoni and Favreau got to do a live-action movie. That seems unlikely, though, because as I just mentioned, they're already working on season 2 of The Mandalorian. Kevin Feige has a Star Wars movie that's in development. So we just got a story last week. He's looking for a big title actor to helm that movie. It's very possible that Kevin Feige could fill that 2022 time slot. But up until this point, remember, Josh Trank was supposed to direct a Boba Fett project. I believe it was Star Wars Celebration 2015. He was backstage, apparently, to be brought on to introduce the Boba Fett movie, and they nixed it at the last minute because of the performance of Solo at the box office. The Solo performance at the box office is different than the reaction to that movie because the fans who watched it really liked it. I loved it. I would have liked to actually seen what happened if Ron Howard would have directed the whole thing. I like what he ultimately did with that movie with those characters. It was a risk, it was a gamble. I thought it was fun. Would have done a couple of things differently. The issue with Solo was it wasn't marketed, so it didn't perform well at the box office. It had nothing to do with being 6 months within the release of The Last Jedi. It might have been. It might have soured fans from The Last Jedi. It wasn't my favorite movie. I still went to see Solo in the theaters. It was a marketing issue. I believe it was at the time Infinity War that was being promoted, and that's what Disney pushed. And since then we've had quotes from Bob Iger say might have been too much at one time. And I think he was referencing Star Wars. I think the ultimate truth is it was too many big title Disney projects coming out in theaters at the same time. Just my take. So Josh Trank taken off of Boba Fett. Colin Trevorrow taken off Episode 9. We're told it was creative differences. He wanted to play with Luke Skywalker, and Rian Johnson was going to kill him off in The Last Jedi. Phil Lord, Chris Miller canned on Solo, a Star Wars story, and then Ron Howard was brought back in, and of course, we'll make Solo 2 happen. Hashtag shout out to our good friends over at StarWarsNewsNet.com and the Resistance broadcast, starting that movement. Always happy to celebrate Make Solo 2 happen. And then, of course, the recent casualties, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, leave their unslated trilogy of films set to start in 2022. But there's more issues. Remember, Gareth Edwards wasn't removed, but they brought in Tony Gilroy to fix the third act of Rogue One. You had Edgar Wright rumored to be on a Star Wars project. Some thought Boba Fett. You had James Mangold and Simon Kinberg at one time were rumored to be together to write and direct a Boba Fett movie in 2018. And then Stephen Daldry, who's been mentioned once already on this show, he was rumored in May of last year to be the director of Kenobi, and he has since been moved off of that officially. A lot of big names, a lot of creative talent brought on and moved off of Star Wars within a very short amount of time. And if you believe what is said here, there's a Variety report, the Hollywood Reporter, citing that some directors now are just not even considering Star Wars because it seems too unstable, that there's not a known direction of how Lucasfilm wants its directors to create and develop stories and get them to the big screen. there is quite a bit of turnover. And if you go and find my story on beyondtheblastdoors.com, you'll also find where I go in length of who next. I dive into what we know about Kevin Feige. I dig into what we know so far about Ryan Johnson's work. I have a quote in here from Alan Horn, basically talking about staying by Kathleen Kennedy's side. Some do speculate that you're bringing in Feige to the mix. Could Feige be taking over Lucasfilm, and taking over leadership there and letting maybe Kathleen leave after Rise of Skywalker? Nothing like that has been confirmed, and also we have no reason to believe that she would end her. She just re-signed her contract. It was a 3-year deal. She's going to hit a home run with Rise of Skywalker. It's going to crush $1 billion. Not every decision is liked by Kathleen Kennedy, but she gets results at the box office. Even for Solo, I think any other franchise, if it made $300+ million at the box office, they would be very happy. Diving into the live chat right now, we have Rebel Scum Podcast saying hi. We've got everyone tweeting. We got Mr. Rez saying hashtag make Solo 2 happen. So great to see that camaraderie in the live chat. Great to see everyone continuing to visit. Manto Fury. Jesse, good to see you there. We got Steven in there. We'll find out 30 years from now. I guess that's a reference into maybe when we'll actually see Ryan Johnson's stories. But that's what We're a Farm Boy looks like he wants. He wants to see Ryan's stories coming up next, and he also blames the marketing for Solo 2 woes. I want to know what you think. You can let me know still. Let me know in the live chat. You can tweet me at BTBD Star Wars or in the comment section under this episode. If you're catching this episode on the rewind, I need a water break. I'm going to put up the new slate so that way I can do that. And we're talking toys here on episode 72 of Beyond the Blast Doors, November 3rd. We've gotten a lot of toy news here in the last couple of days. You had the Comic-Con in Paris and England. We got some really cool figures shown, and that includes this one. This is Knight of Ren. Pause for a water drink. Oh, that was good. I needed that water. I've been talking a lot this weekend. We also got the Lucha Comics and Games Festival. This is what takes place in Italy, and I'm going to pull this up. This is, I mentioned my friends over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. I think they feel the same way about me. They're good people. Got to hang out with them at Star Wars Celebration. And for the most time, this is where we get our stories for our show, is StarWarsNewsNet.com. And so here's the latest images that we have here from Lucha Comics and Games Festival in Italy. And I just want to scroll down through here, and I want to just zoom in a little bit more so we can just get the best look at these images. And then here we go. So this is really cool because we've got a series of Jedi Council members that are going to be unveiled. And I'm really excited about this. I really am. Because I love Plo Koon. He is probably one of my favorite Jedi, probably my favorite Jedi on the Council. Love the character exploration we get with him in the Clone Wars. Big thanks, by the way, just seeing the uncanny Kyle Waka joining us in the live chat. 10 people watching live right now. Be sure you give us a thumbs up. Share this episode right now while we're going live. It would be super fantastic if everyone right now could share on Facebook and Twitter that this episode is going on. We're about halfway through the show right now. It would be great to have people join us still for this live Star Wars conversation. Where else can you go live and talk about Star Wars on a Sunday morning? Well, right now it's Beyond the Blast Doors. We might be moving to Fridays. We'll talk about that another time. Here's the Plo Koon, though, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I always liked his lightsaber hilt, and it looks really good. The robes look absolutely fantastic. And we'll scroll on down. And again, these are the Black Series figures, the 6-inch model. I've got about 20 of these behind me on my set here in my makeshift studio. But we also get a Plo Koon. And I'm sorry, I said Plo Koon. Of course we get Plo Koon. We just looked at him. This is Kit Fisto, and I am loving the look here. First off, I love Plo Koon from the Clone Wars. I really enjoy Kit Fisto. They really beefed this character up. I think about those early episodes where he ventures with his Padawan to the lair of General Grievous. Kit Fisto is a tough dude. And honestly, one of my favorite moments of Kit Fisto is from the Clone Wars micro series. that 2003 micro series, that episode where he takes all those scuba troopers and they go to like Mon Cala, and he just ignites his saber. He jumps into the water. It was just so cool, so cool. Kid Fisto, this is a figure you gotta pick up. And these are available spring of next year. We're also getting a new Force Effects lightsaber, and I have not bought any of these, but I will be buying, I think, this one. If I can pull it off, if I can get permission, because this is Asajj Ventress's saber hilt, and it is absolutely stunning. Again, available next year, next spring. This is the Force Effects lightsaber. Comes with a stand. And that hilt looks absolutely fantastic. And of course, we get our first introduction to Asajj in that micro series in the Clone Wars. I love how we're able to still reference that. It's not canon anymore, but it's a great series. And that's where we met Asajj. And they flesh her out a little bit in the comics. A lot of those good comics with her are now no longer canon. We get her back, of course, though, in the Clone Wars series. And I'm so glad that Dave Filoni and Lucas and all the creatives there brought her back to do the bidding of Dooku. This is a beautiful saber. I think you should pick it up. Probably somewhere between $100 and $150. Let me know in the live chat, by the way, if you see a figure, you see a toy that you think is really cool, I want you to let me know down in the comments below what you're thinking about this. So scrolling on down here, we have a Clone Trooper figure. This is part of the vintage line, and it looks pretty cool. Looks like one of the original Attack of the Clone Troopers. Looks pretty sharp, if I do say so myself. You're seeing that on your screen as I scroll through. Roll Farm Boy says Tartovsky's CW series. Yeah, the Clone Wars series he did was awesome. And people are like, oh, yeah, that kind of looks like Samurai Jack. Yeah, it's the same guy. It's the same art stylings of Samurai Jack, and it's awesome. We got Tumed 2 in the house now. Great to see him in live chat as well. So cool. I love the rifles, the original rifles of the Clone Wars, of the Clone Troopers. You know, obviously in Revenge of the Sith, you see them to a shorter, you know, the E11, something, or not the E11, but something similar to what the Stormtroopers carry around. Helmet comes off, a face underneath. It's a decent looking figure. Definitely doesn't have the quality or the attention to detail as those Black series. This is 3 3/4 inch series available in June. This is the Bespin Luke that's out now. And I look at this, I like this less than the Bespin Luke that I got circa 2005, I believe, because that one had magnetic hands. And the hilts were actually metal. And it gave the figures kind of a force effect. Now, I say this, I love how the hilt has a way of hanging on the belt. I think that's super cool. But I don't think this looks as good as previous versions. Again, 3 3/4 inch series. We're also getting a Han Solo that looks pretty straightforward. Empire Strikes Back. You can tell by the jacket, gun in the holster, and you get one of the tools he uses to repair. And you also get the goggles. C-3PO, this looks kind of shoddy. Like, let's be honest. This looks kind of clay. This kind of looks less like the film version of C-3PO. And this looks more like a Ralph McQuarrie rendering. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me know what you think. Yes, Rural Farm Boy says, Luke looks a little chunky. I would agree. That silver, I'm going to be honest, I never noticed the silver plate on the leg of C-3PO until recently. Never noticed that. Had no idea that was a thing. Lando, I think this is the figure that looks best out of all of them. You get Lando Calrissian. This is Rise of Skywalker. Again, 3 3/4 inch due out next spring. But this, to me, is the nicest detailing of the figures. I love the diversity of the colors. Very reminiscent of what we get. This actually might be Return of the Jedi. I think I misspoke. I think this is Return of the Jedi. The cloak, for a moment, made me think that it was from The Rise of Skywalker, the stuff that we've seen. Tumed 2 says, this is not Billy D. Williams. That looks like Billy D. That looks pretty close to Billy D. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that looks like a pretty damn good figure. I would pick that one up. General Lando Calrissian. So I think we're gonna go with Return of the Jedi. Just so you know, a little transparency. Mandy, my girlfriend, just did a great job ducking out of the light. She did not want to be on camera, but that's okay because I had the full screen up. It's totally fine. Why did I wrap myself up? I don't know why I ratted myself out. It's not that big of a deal. We're just having a good time. Thanks to Tim Levers for putting that story up, his code name Rebo here on the website here for StarWarsNewsNet.com. So those are the latest figures that we've seen from Italy. We got Lando Calrissian here. We got a not so great C-3PO. We got a decent Han Solo. I think his head isn't right. It looks smushed, but I think that's just the angle. And you got this chunky Luke Skywalker who looks very annoyed. You know what this does? This feels that Luke is a brat. I have a campaign of my own. The Resistance broadcast has Make Solo 2 happen. Mine is Don't Make Luke a Brat campaign. He's always portrayed as so whiny, and a little whiny in A New Hope, but get off of it. I mean, okay, also in Empire Strikes Back a little bit, but get off of it. Return of the Jedi, this is a mature man. He's a wise man. Frustrates me all the time. So going through these figures again, yep, you saw the Clone Trooper, the Asajj Ventress Force FX Saber. Love that. Want that on my wall. Kit Fisto, an incredible, this is stunning. And of course, Plo Koon. So this is all I ask. I ask that you let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite figures that you just got to look at. I know that StarWarsNewsNet.com has another article. They were able to collect photos from the Paris and London Comic-Cons, and so you can see some additional there. And then it has the Knights of Ren figures. You're also going to get a Zori Bliss figure as well that you can buy in the spring of 2020, which is really exciting for a lot of the reasons, mainly because for me, it's the detail. That is what hooks me, the detail of the 6-inch Black Series figures. I do like the new covering. There's like some coming out where they're white, and I think those look really cool, like the boxes themselves. My figures are still in the box. There's a couple that I think I will actually pull out, and I think I'm just going to sell the rest of them because they just sit there, and I don't really get to fully enjoy them. So why not share the fun with you? Okay, so let me know, live chat, what you think about those toys. Will you buy those? I think for me, the Asajj Ventress lightsaber excites me the most, followed by Kit Fisto and Plo Koon. Let me know down in the comments below. Tweet me, BTBD Star Wars, or you can tweet at me on my personal account, which is BTBD David, my personal account, so I can say things that I think and I don't represent or misrepresent Beyond the Blast Doors. Okay, so you can follow me there as well. Our next, and this is our final topic of the show here, episode 72, Beyond the Blast Doors, just shy of an hour, having such a great time with you. We are going to dive into now the fourth and final topic, which is Jedi Fallen Order. We just actually had the launch trailer drop for this, and I'm really excited to take a look at this with you because it's something that we don't talk a lot about on Beyond the Blasters right now, just because we didn't have a whole lot to talk about it on. We had some gameplay footage released a few months ago that allowed you to go through Kashyyyk, and you got to blow up some AT-STs and kill some troopers, and it was, the landscape is just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And it's a lot of fun to watch the game. I have not been able to play anything of Jedi Fallen Order, but some people have. They shared that experience on YouTube, and yeah, go definitely and go out and support those creators. But we got about a minute long launch trailer, and I haven't watched this yet, so I'm actually going to watch it with you in real time, and then we can talk all about it. This is, like I said, last topic of the show. We're going to watch it. It's only a minute. I don't know how much to expect could be in a minute. But we'll have that conversation together. It should be a lot of fun. Diving into live chat real quick, it looks like 2Med2 is going to buy the 2 Jedi. Rural Farm Boy wants to buy the Stormtroopers. Okay. Mr. Rez is with me. He wants the lightsaber. Jesse in the live chat says Plo Koon's robes need to be a little bit more finished. The lightsaber looks good. I also finally got my Black Series Mandalorian figures. One to open, one to stay in the box. I don't blame you, Jesse. I think if you have the money, that's a great way to do it as a collector because you want to enjoy the functionality and the playability of a figure, but you still want to have that collective element. So buy 2 if money allows. I like how Plo Koon's robes, though, looked worn on that, though, Jesse, if I'm being really honest with you, because that's why I love Star Wars in the first place. It doesn't all look new and shiny. It looks lived in. And in there, it looks like Plo and Kit were in the freaking heat of battle, man. Sweating, robes a little tattered, smudged. I like that. It kind of allows me, let my imagination run further in a wild sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. I've got the trailer queued up, and I'm going to do this in the double box. That way we can watch together, and it avoids some liabilities, some copyright issues. You know, I don't like it when YouTube and Disney send me emails because they're never like, hey, we want to come on your show. It's always like, hey, copyright violation. Pausing for a drink. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you heard that swallow, but George Carlin has a great joke. George Carlin, I would say arguably the greatest stand-up comedian of all time, had a great bit about how the drink is two parts. It's you put the water in the back and then push it down. So when you have some time later today, go find some George Carlin, and we'll all be better off for it. Okay, cool. So I've got the trailer queued up. I'm going to be watching the trailer here with you. I'm going to react, but I also don't want to like blow your speakers out. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. And we should be good. I don't know why this wouldn't work. Let's go do this. Let's have some fun. Let's watch this trailer together. Right off the bat, Inquisitorius.
We've lost.
Okay.
The Empire's hunting Jedi survivors. Cal,
Okay.
they know who you are.
I can't change the past,
You trespass, Jedi.
but I'm done hiding.
Cal Kestis.
You will always struggle.
It's the choice to keep fighting that makes us who we are.
Can you hear the sound that made? That was so cool.
Feel the force.
I feel the force. That was incredible. Did you? Okay, so I don't know. Maybe I'm like overdoing this a little bit, but when the lightsabers clash, I felt like the reverb. That was really satisfying. And I'm sure that you've probably watched that trailer already. That's my first time watching it, actually. I had not been able to watch it yet, and so it was just a thing where, I'm working with Pete on getting Streaming Star Wars going, and I wanted to get this show ready to go for this week, and I am doing the solo thing, so I'm just not able to get to everything, because on top of that, I have work, all right? Manny and I planning a wedding. Yeah, that's right, we got engaged. And, just got these things. So, got to watch this with you, and that was a lot of fun. Cal Kestis is going to be such a cool character. This whole idea that you have the Inquisitors hunting down these Jedi that have survived Order 66, and you heard it in the dialogue there. They know who he is. He is on the run. You get some great looks at the Ninth Sister, and when she confronts Cal, that's a lot of fun. I like the incorporation. I mean, she's new, okay, but we're also getting Inquisitors from Charles Soule's Darth Vader run, which, if you have not already, take the time and watch his run. Or not watch it, but read it. 1 through 25, Darth Vader, it's perfection. It really is. There's only, I think, one issue that I was like, that was kind of flat, because everything else was just so great. The whole run, just well worth your time, and to see all these things come together. To explore this rich time post Revenge of the Sith, you get what Charles Soule created in that time frame. This is going to be special. And, you saw the Xbox logo. I am going to be getting this game for PC, so I look forward to doing that. There is some talks of us streaming gameplay on our channel, as we go through that storyline. So be sure you join us for that, of course. And I'm just really pleased with that. This game, I don't know if you remember, but November 15th is when it drops, and I'm really excited to get my hands on this. I believe it's going to be available on Steam, so that's good to know. And yeah, I think EA and Respawn has done a really nice job with how they've unveiled all of this. I'm really thrilled. I'm really thrilled. And also, be sure you're staying on point with the Jedi Fallen Order comic run. There are some connections. I think there's one location, like the Dark Temple on Tatho, is I think how you say it. I think we get a glimpse of that in this trailer. So something to think about, just all the connections. That's a lot for a minute. that was a lot for a minute trailer. I really dug it, and it's just enough to remind me, hey, this thing comes out in 12 days, and I need to spend some money to be able to play this game. Going to jump into the live chat now here as we look to conclude episode 72 of Beyond the Blast Doors. And holy cow, this thing is blowing up. This is so cool. Okay, so Shannon liked the black figures earlier. She also didn't like the robes. It looks like everyone is really had a lot of fun watching that trailer, which I'm so glad about because I was really playing catch up for me. So Shannon really likes BD1, Rural Farm Boy, BD1 at the end. Yeah, I get it. It's awesome. Rural says, I don't have the PS3 nor 4, but I want to know the story. Well, remember, it's for Xbox. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it is for the PlayStation 4, but you can also get this on PC, and that's how I'm going to do it. And you get PC. I don't think that there would be a multiplayer because I think this is just campaign-based, but for some reason there would be a multiplayer. We'll do that. And if not, maybe I'll just get Battlefront 2 and we can hang out there. 2med2, buying new laptop this week and upgrading a bunch just for this game. Dude, I don't blame you. I've got the computer that I built about a year and a half ago with Nick Stewart. He used to be on Beyond the Blast Doors, you might remember. He and I built this computer. This thing can handle a lot, and it's built more so for gaming, but it pushes out, our show. I'm so thankful that I'm ready to go. I don't need to buy new gear for this game. I just need to buy the game. And looks like we have in here, Shannon, I will be streaming it in January. So maybe Shannon is talking about streaming the video game. Okay. Jesse now has an updated username. So BTBD Jesse in the live chat, you know him as Man of Fury, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Good branding there. Good branding. So Rural Farm Boy says he's going to hunt some cutscenes. And Shannon says the game engine looks great. I fully agree with you. The game looks phenomenal. It really does. It looks large, expansive, and this is what fans have been wanting from Star Wars video games for a long time. When LucasArts ended, it was really concerning for fans. And with Battlefront 1 and 2, 1, we didn't get a campaign, and then 2, we got a great story, but you can make the argument the story didn't feel long enough. The game was quick to beat. I think it only took us 10 hours. And then the multiplayer, you still had all this, additional stuff you had to buy. It was confusing and frustrating. And so it looks like this is about to be a home run for EA/Respawn. And I want to see what's next. I just miss the golden era of LucasArts. When you got at least one new game a year, those were good times. So, yeah, make sure everyone is subbing up everybody else in the live chat. It's really important that we support each other. It's crucial. Make sure you're following each other. A big thank you to everyone who joined us for episode 72, Lies to Protect Kenobi Project from a Certain Point of View. That's right, because it wasn't really lies. These are legalities. Ewan McGregor couldn't jeopardize any of the project, so that's why I put in there from a certain point of view. It's a pun because he plays Kenobi. Want to remind you, as always, that there are a few ways that you can follow us. I'll bring that graphic up right now. If you miss out on the live show, always watch on the rewind and comment down below. It is so important that you comment on our episodes. Please, when this live stream ends, if you're watching the live show, hit refresh, comment with whatever comment caught your attention the most. Let's continue that Star Wars conversation. Maybe I said something that was wrong and you need to correct me. Or maybe I said something that you totally don't agree with. Tell me why I'm wrong. Or maybe we see eye to eye on something. Again, let me know why. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or on Patreon. That's where you can get the audio version. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up one more time. The world premiere of streaming Star Wars with Ammo and Fletzer, November 8th, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. We're going to do episodes every Friday. It is going to be an absolute joy. Pete Fletzer and myself, not just talking about The Mandalorian. And this is no shade on anyone else, but you're seeing a lot of Mandalorian talk shows pop up. Okay, that's fine. Streaming Star Wars is different. We are as far as we know, the only live show that will be discussing all of streaming Star Wars. This is content strictly on Disney+. Now, here on the main show on Beyond the Blast Doors, no doubt in my mind, we're going to be talking about some of these projects, right? It only makes sense to bring it up. But for the place to go, the in-depth conversation, you're going to find that with streaming Star Wars. And it's so important to us that you join us on this adventure. So again, November 8th, of course, join us. That first episode of The Mandalorian drops on November 12th with the drop of The Mandalorian and Disney Plus, and it's really exciting. Episode 72, it's in the books. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. Thanks for joining us on the rewind. You may be listened on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, however you did it. I'm so thankful for you joining me. That's going to do it for us here on episode 72. It's really important to me that I got to get going. I got to go to Marshall's. I got to find Christmas decorations. I've got to find stuff to decorate my tree. I need a new Christmas tree. We'll see you next week on Beyond the Blast Doors.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.